Howdy folks, AJ coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And this is going to be the video that we're going to report on SOE Live. We're going to report on GamesCom. And a few other little nuggets. So let's go. Okay, so starting with SOE Live. Last year, SOE started a more transparent approach with its games and its player base and whatnot. By saying that they're just going to communicate about their games with what's going on in the development cycle and so forth. No more cloak and dagger, NDA, and all that kind of crap. Because in the culture that we're in now with social media as active as it is, they saw that there's probably a benefit if you are talking about your game and the development of it and everything and letting people share screenshots and so forth, that it could be a benefit to your game. So I appreciate that they took that approach, and I think a lot of other game developers need to do the same. So they started off by, of course, with their keynote and everything, and they talked about how they're going to continue to heavily support all of their existing titles, DC Universe Online, Dragon's Prophet, EQ, EQ2, and PlanetSide 2. So basically for those, they went into detail about how they're going to be, the updates are going to be, and how they're going to be supporting and all that stuff. For EverQuest, they announced the next expansion, the Darkened Sea. And for EverQuest 2, they announced the 10-year anniversary that's going to be coming up in concurrence with their next expansion, the Altar of Malice. So for EQ players of the franchise, in addition to EQ Next, Landmark, and all that, you're still getting expansions and support for EQ and EQ2. So for an EQ2 player like myself, that's good to hear. So for Dragon's Prophet, they announced that they confirmed that it will be being added to the All Access plan for SOE titles, which, if you are not already taking advantage of the All Access Pass and you are thinking about playing any of the SOE titles, it's a no-brainer. It's $15 a month for all their titles to be, a full-blown subscriber for all their titles. So, and soon to be Dragon's Prophet as well. So if you're thinking about it, and it's even cheaper if you do a longer term thing, 6 months or a year or whatever. I think it's even cheaper. So, so next was Landmark and EverQuest Next. They basically said for EverQuest Next, they said, people have been asking how's the build coming and all that, and how's the development going and all that, and they basically said that they've been developing it all along in concurrence with Landmark, because basically Landmark is going to be what they're going to use to build EverQuest Next, and they've already shown that they are relying upon the players to heavily assist in that. They showed the Dark Elf Citadel that was designed with the help of the players in Landmark, and it looks like that's going to continue throughout the entire development cycle. So you're going to be able to influence how things look if you want to get involved, and to partake in the development process if you want to. So they've not only been transparent communicating, but they're actually utilizing the players to help them build the game, which I think is brilliant. So so they did show off for EverQuest Next some of the classes. They showed some additional classes other than the warrior and the wizard that they've already shown. They showed the cleric, They showed the Tempest, the Elementalist, and then they showed one additional race, which was the Dark Elf race. So those screenshots, and if you want to go see the videos, you on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, there's videos of all of it showcasing what they look like in combat and so forth. I thought that it looks very impressive, especially with, I think that they're using a lot of particle effects in the combat. A lot of flashes of light and so forth as you're swinging swords and making contact and all that. A lot of particle effects and everything. And I think with today's atmosphere, that's what majority of people are probably looking for. I prefer photorealistic style, looking combat and everything. But I know I'm different than all. I like the photorealistic. If you could take, Game of Thrones combat and put it into a video game, that's how I would want my combat to look. But I'm not. I'm the minority. So anyway, feel free to check out those videos. I think that it's well worth your time to check if you haven't already. Next thing was the much anticipated H1Z1, which is their MMO in zombie survival mode, basically. And I watched the entire panel about all the questions that were asked of the developers and so forth. And things that are important to me were, there was a guy that asked about, how interactive are the environments going to be? What is the limit of the interactiveness? And he gave examples of, am I going to be able to take a gas can and pour it around a vehicle if I want to, or make a circle and light it on fire? Can I shoot out tires on a vehicle? Their answer was, the developer's answer was, the sky is the limit. They want to make it as interactive and as deep as possible. And that Smedley said that he wants, when they're developing the game, he wants it to be as deep as possible. So I'm very much looking forward to all those types of abilities when you're in the game, so that it's intuitive. That if I think of it, hey, I need to get up on that roof, and wait, there's a wheelbarrow and some wood. Can I stack this stuff up to be able to jump up there? I should be able to do that, and hopefully that'll be the case. It sounds like that's what their goal is too. So, the other thing they talked about for H1Z1 is it's going to be an early access game on Steam. They did not give a date. They said that when they're comfortable with it, they will release it as early access on Steam, which I am fully on board with. I think that's the way to go for most developers now. If you can put it out on Steam through early access or whatever, I think that's a huge bonus, because look at these other games that are on there. You get DayZ and Rust and all this other stuff, and people are just eating it up. So I think that's a brilliant move. They did say that H1Z1 is sharing, that it's using the same engine as PlanetSide 2, and that they're able to share assets from PlanetSide 2 into H1Z1, so that is helping with the development cycle. So they did mention that. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't really played a zombie survival game. I haven't played DayZ or Rust yet, because I was waiting. I want to wait for this one, but I may break down and play one at some point. So that's what I'm looking forward to with H1Z1. So those were the big announcements out of. Let me double check my notes here and make sure that I didn't forget anything here. I think I got everything. Let's see. So now moving on to GamesCom. So they did ask the developers of World of Warcraft if they had thought about World of Warcraft 2, and they admitted that they had thought about it. Now, this is where I think that Blizzard may be actually letting themselves get behind the curve, because you have SOE, who is continuing to support heavily EverQuest, EverQuest 2, all their other titles and everything, but they're also developing the next generation of MMO with emergent AI and all these other things that are destructible worlds, being able to dig down, having multiple layers of the world to explore and all these things. So they're working on the next one. And as far as we know, maybe Blizzard is secretly working on the sequel to World of Warcraft or whatever, but they said they've talked about it, but I don't know that they've started on it, conceptualized it, or anything. So they may be, as we know, they've already been losing a shit ton of subscribers. Every year they're losing more and more and more. Now they're still the largest, but they could be digging themselves in a hole if they don't start to look towards the future. So that's just my 2 cents. So they did say that they had thought about it though. Of course, Robin Williams. It was confirmed that Robin Williams will be immortalized in the game World of Warcraft. They're going to put an NPC in to immortalize him, which I thought was very cool. The next thing that I saw from GamesCom that I was really stoked about was Star Citizen. Now, Star Citizen, a lot of you know the history of it, that they've crowdfunded like $50 million, or more than 50. It's over 50 million at this point, I think, to develop this MMO. And it's been promising a lot of stuff, but the videos that I saw from Gamescom looked incredible. So it just depends if they're able to deliver what they're showing. It is without a doubt next generation stuff. I mean, it's groundbreaking. If they can deliver what they're showing on those videos, and you're welcome to Google it and go take a look at those videos, and I think you'll be as impressed as I was. But again, can they deliver what they're showing in the videos, or is it just going to be, is it going to end up being vaporware or what? Because a lot of people are getting skeptical because there's been an awful lot of money raised for them, and they're not, they're not into beta, so we'll see. So I'm hoping for Star Citizen. The other thing was that Uncharted 4. This is some console news. I don't usually talk a lot about console news, but I love the Uncharted series. There was not any real presence of Uncharted 4 at Gamescom, which a lot of people were upset about. But I'm sure that it's coming. It's a money maker for them, so I'm sure it's coming. The other thing was the Rise of the Tomb Raider, which was announced as an Xbox exclusive. They confirmed that it's a timed exclusive, meaning it'll be exclusive for only a certain period of time duration, and then it may be able to be launched on other platforms. So hopefully that means PC. So then Evolve, the game Evolve, the 4 versus 1 monster killing cooperative game, got best of show basically, and the videos for that looked incredible as well. Star Citizen, Evolve, though, I mean, as far as what they're promising, amazing looking stuff. So looking forward to both of those. And Evolve will be available on PC. At least it's what it's stated for now. And then the last thing from Gamescom, and the last thing for this video, is that they talked about Activision Blizzard announced that the Sierra brand is being brought back. This guy could not be happier. Sierra, as far as I'm concerned, is the greatest adventure game company ever, or at least equal to with LucasArts. LucasArts, Sierra, right there. You know, one time maybe one be up here, next one, you know. But during the day, back in the day, when the grand time of adventure, point and click adventure games was going on, those were the two companies that were doing them all. And the fact that they're bringing back Sierra, and they said they're working on another King's Quest game, which I just happen to have my King's Quest anthology book right there, and the old Sierra. This was the Sierra manual that came with it. It says game manual on it. And the reason was all the point and click ones, they were all agnostic. You could use this book for any, because the mechanics all worked the same. It would be a different, a different series or a different franchise, but the mechanics all worked the same. So this book was, they could just put this in any of their games and it worked for all of them. But you had Police Quest, you had Gabriel Knight, which is my favorite game franchise of all time. If they make another Gabriel Knight game, you won't be able to contain me. Leisure Suit Larry, which was the only game that I know of ever to have a scratch and sniff enclosure with it. So, there we go. The Cyber Sniff 2000. As you went through the game and you went into certain environments, it would tell you to scratch and sniff a certain number to help immerse you into the game. Only game I've ever seen where they did that. So, Sierra, welcome back. I tip my hat to you, which I don't do very often on camera. And yeah, I do have hair. I've got hair. I'm not bald. Everybody thinks because I wear a hat all the time it's because I'm bald. I'm not bald. So, there you go, guys. That's it. That's it from this weekend. That's SOE Live, GamesCom. We already did Gen Con and D&D Next, yesterday's video. So, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.